In the previous videos, you learned how to draft your own climate change response plan, as well as how to ensure that you get the right people to provide input into your climate change planning process. This video is going to focus on how you can go about integrating your climate change response plan into your integrated development plan, also known as an IDP. In order to integrate your climate change response plan into your IDP, the following 4 steps can be followed. The first step is to assess whether your IDP is climate change credible and whether the key outcomes of your climate change response plan are reflected in the IDP. The second step is to ensure your newly developed climate change responses and projects are represented in the service delivery and budget implementation plan and medium-term expenditure framework budget allocations of your municipality. The third step requires you to communicate the municipal response to the community. And the final step is the actual project and program implementation and monitoring. Let's look at each of these steps in more detail. The first step in this process aims to assess whether your existing IDP is climate change credible. This process allows you to check your municipality's IDP and determine whether it already includes climate change issues in each of the key areas. A checklist has been developed for this review process and is included in the Let's Respond Toolkit guide. The checklist looks at different climate change assessment criteria under key sectors and asks whether or not these particular criteria are covered in the IDP. This is what the climate change credibility checklist looks like. Section 1 focuses on assessing the spatial development analysis and rationale components of your IDP. The first question is, does the municipality exhibit a good understanding of areas vulnerable to the impact of climate change, as well as extreme weather events? The second section considers infrastructure planning, particularly in the water sector. One of the questions here is, does the IDP's vision or mission cover future-related water resources and water services issues, and does this include consideration of future climate change impacts? The column to the right provides you with the space to answer yes or no to the question and add any comments that may be useful going forward. The other sections in the assessments include service delivery and infrastructure planning, local economic development, good governance, financial viability, as well as institutional arrangements. You can download the full assessment tool from the Let's Respond Toolkit website. Once you have conducted your climate change credibility assessment, you might decide that your newly developed climate change plan is not adequately reflected in the IDP. It is vitally important that the areas of highest vulnerability and associated projects that you've listed in your climate change plan are incorporated into your IDP so that they can be prioritized when allocating budgets. If you've used the templates provided through the Let's Respond Toolkit, there are 2 main areas where the text from these plans can be easily included in your IDP. The first is to include a generic introduction statement about climate change and why it is important in your municipality. This statement should also outline the priority indicators for your municipality. This can be copied from the executive summary of your climate change plan. The second section from your climate change plan that you can copy directly into your IDP are the chapters for each sector. The Let's Respond Toolkit template has been developed in such a way that the sector summaries and projects can be copied directly into the relevant sector chapters of your IDP. Now that you've checked your IDP for climate change credibility, the second step of this integration process is to ensure that climate change response projects are included in the service delivery and budget implementation plan, as well as the medium-term expenditure framework budget allocations. Ideally, you will have had input from the municipal treasury during your stakeholder consultation process when you were developing your climate change plan. However, the actual drafting of the SDBIP is when the budget for the project is formally agreed to. This is a crucial step in the process because without a budget allocation, your projects will not be funded. If you have done this already, It is a good idea at this stage to ensure that the projects and responses in your climate change plan are discussed by the sector departments while they're finalizing their sections of the SDBIP. The third step of the IDP integration process is to ensure that the climate change components of the IDP are communicated to the public during the IDP consultation processes. It's important to keep stakeholders informed to help with getting buy-in and broader support for municipal activities. It also helps the community to realize their role in the overall municipal response to climate change. The final step in the IDP integration process focuses on project implementation and monitoring. Allocating clear roles and responsibilities, setting timeframes, and identifying measurements of success are crucial in implementation as well as monitoring of projects. It may be possible to set up an internal climate change committee that tracks the implementation of projects. It is also possible that projects are included as part of the performance management plan of sector managers. Clear measurements of success would need to be identified early on so that the effectiveness of the projects can be monitored. Paying attention to the actual implementation process of projects will ensure that climate change risk is minimized and adaptation takes place to the key climate change vulnerabilities you have in your area. Once you have gone through those 4 steps, you will have integrated climate change into your IDP. Ensuring climate change is well integrated into the IDP is an important part of responding to climate change. If projects are included in the IDP, you'll be able to secure budget, and the implementation of the projects will be monitored through the IDP process. Your climate change plan then is likely to be a success, and you will begin to effectively respond to climate change.